Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dhamma flourish forevermore. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. In the space before me is the living Buddha Shakyamuni, surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like the full moon surrounded by stars. With my body, speech, and mind, humbly I prostrate, and make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time, and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases, and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain for land, sun, and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offered thus. May all beings enjoy such pure lands. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion, my friends, enemies, and strangers, our bodies and enjoyments. Please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the three poisons. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless me with this understanding to follow him with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms extremely rare, with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding all day and night to seize its essence. My body like a water bubble decays and dies so very quickly. After death come results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. With this firm knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought come mindfulness and greatest caution, to keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the pratimoksha. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Oh, so that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone, without three ethics. So bless me with the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination. by pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings. Bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through common paths, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle Vajrayana. The two attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers. Oh, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the Tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy Dharma. Accomplish all grounds and paths swiftly and gain the state of Vajradhara. From the hearts of all the holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow down, granting blessings and purifying.
Hello everybody, welcome to our special NKT Day celebration and teaching. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to teach today from the temple at Manjusri Kadampa Meditation Center through Venerable Geshe-la's kindness. Your kindness in listening. And I think we need to say the kindness of modern technology. And whether modern technology is helpful or harmful or neutral depends upon our intention. So today we have a very good intention to meet together and listen to Venerable Geshe-la's precious Dharma instructions on this, our NKT Day. So on NKT Day, New Kadampa Tradition Day, I think our main practice is rejoicing. We're so grateful, so delighted to be fortunate modern Kadampa disciples and to have met the holy Dharma of Je Tsongkhapa's doctrine in this modern world, modern Kadam Dharma, from our Guru's heart, and to have met the most precious teacher, Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso Rinpoche, and to be part of a global Kadampa family, all trying sincerely to put these precious teachings into practice to bring great benefit to our world. So I think we could probably say every day is NKT Day, but we set one day aside, the first Saturday of April, of every year, and on this day we rejoice even more. So I am so delighted to have the opportunity to spend some time with you and to learn Dharma together. So I'm delighted to say, really delighted, that we have a special message from Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso Rinpoche, from his heart. It's advice to everyone. He kindly sent this message. So I'd like to encourage everybody to listen very carefully, because to me, this is the most important part of the whole teaching. And I'd like to encourage you to take this message into your heart and put it into practice sincerely. So Venerable Geshe-la's message. Dear everybody, although we can see an unusual situation which is causing people to be worried and to suffer, I would like to suggest that through using our wisdom, we try to make ourselves happy and everyone happy, which means we should stop worrying. I will personally pray for you and your families with much love and blessings, Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. So I would love to read this precious message again. Dear everybody, although we see an unusual situation which is causing people to be worried and to suffer, I would like to suggest that through using our wisdom, we try to make ourselves happy and everyone happy, which means we should stop worrying. I will personally pray for you all and your families with much love and blessings, Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. We're so grateful for this precious message, and I know all of us will try our best to take it to heart and put it into practice, because, as Geshe-la says, we are seeing an unusual situation, and it is causing people to be worried and to suffer. So what are we going to do? We're going to use our wisdom to make ourselves and everyone happy, which means we should stop worrying. And Venerable Geshe-la will empower our practice through his prayers and his blessings for ourselves and for our families. How wonderful. So I think it's becoming clear, especially when we see an unusual situation as we're seeing at the moment with the pandemic. But I think it's clear, becoming clear, day by day, what we see in our own life, our families' lives, others' lives, what we see through the news. We understand our world situation, and it's becoming clear that there is no happiness in this impure life. There is no real happiness in this impure life. So although we say from time to time, I'm so happy, I'm happy, I'm so happy, actually this is artificial happiness come about through a reduction of our previous suffering. None of our worldly enjoyments bring real happiness. They cause some pleasant feeling, which is artificial happiness. So through living Buddhist kindness, we understand in this impure world, no one has real happiness and freedom from suffering, because everybody seeks happiness in wrong objects. How kind for Buddha to give us this message. In general, we are seeking happiness in wrong objects, objects that can never make us happy. So in this impure life, impure world, no one has real happiness and freedom because everyone seeks happiness in wrong objects. However, we can make ourselves happy all the time. So in Venerable Geshe-la's message, he said, through using our wisdom, make ourselves and everyone happy. So we can make ourselves happy all the time. How do we do this? Through practicing Buddhist teachings. We can make ourselves happy through practicing Buddhist teachings. Only through practicing Buddhist teachings. This is an exception. So although there is no real happiness in this impure world, we can make ourselves happy through practicing Buddhist teachings. So this is the exception. Aren't we lucky? This is the exception. We're so fortunate to have met Buddhist teachings. We can make ourselves happy all the time only through the practice of Buddhist teachings. Because happiness depends, real happiness depends, upon a peaceful mind. Through practicing Buddhist teachings, we can maintain a peaceful mind all the time. Then we'll be happy all the time. By maintaining a peaceful mind all the time through the practice of Buddhist teachings, we can solve all our daily problems, our problems of anger, uncontrolled desire, self-cherishing, self-grasping, ignorance. This means through practicing Buddhist teachings, all our daily problems will cease permanently and we will be happy all the time. This is the main reason why we need to practice Buddhist teachings or Dharma. So we need to keep this advice in our heart. And through practicing in accordance with this advice and becoming a happy person, we show the value of Buddhist teachings, and in particular, Kadam Dharma, Buddhist teachings in general, Kadam Dharma, Kadam Lamrim in particular. We show their value through our example and through explanations like this that explain through logical reasoning. So unless our mind is peaceful, we cannot experience real happiness. The source of real happiness is inner peace. This inner peace comes through practicing Buddhist teachings, Dharma. Therefore, we need to practice Buddhist teachings. So this is the exception in our impure world. So because we have met Buddha Dharma, we have the opportunity to practice Buddhist teachings. This is a very precious opportunity that makes our human life meaningful. So we can think to ourselves, I need to practice Buddha's teachings. Because through practicing Buddha's teachings, my mind becomes peaceful. And through maintaining a peaceful mind all the time, through practicing Buddha's teachings, Dharma, I can become happy all the time. This is such a kindness to all living beings, that Buddha is appearing for us and explaining why we need to practice Buddha's teachings. Also, I think we show such loving kindness to other people, to the people of this world. If we can show, just like our teacher does, the great results that come through unifying our heart with Lamrim, with Buddha's teachings, Kadam Lamrim. We show this example in our modern world. Then the whole world will understand that happiness comes from practicing Buddha's teachings, that the solution to our problems comes from practicing Buddha's teachings. Then others will also respect and value Buddha's teachings in our modern world. So through understanding this explanation, we make the determination, I must now practice Buddha's teachings or Dharma sincerely and purely. And we meditate on this determination and put this determination into practice in our daily life. In this way, we guide ourselves on the spiritual path that leads to pure and everlasting happiness, of liberation and enlightenment. How wonderful. So we need to guide ourselves. We need to protect ourselves from going in the wrong direction. So up until now, we've been going in the wrong direction. Now we have the opportunity to seek happiness where happiness can be found. We can guide ourselves to the spiritual path that leads to pure and everlasting happiness. So we encourage ourselves. I must become my own protector, lead myself to correct spiritual paths, not allow myself to follow wrong paths. I myself must make myself happy through maintaining a peaceful mind, through my Dharma practice. So Venerable Geshe-la teaches us 100% certain. Only Dharma is the method to solve human problems permanently. So now I'd like to say a little bit about Kadam Dharma. And I'm using this precious book, Modern Buddhism. I'm going to use 2 books in association with this teaching. Modern Buddhism and How to Transform Your Life. Both these books are appearing as a gift from our Guru's heart. he requested, please can these 2 books be distributed freely through the internet as our e-books? So they're now appearing in so many languages around the world, so that anybody, anywhere, can have access to this extraordinary wisdom and transform their life into the spiritual path, into the liberating path. They can find a new life, a happy life, a meaningful life, a life that is the liberating path, through the wisdom, practicing the wisdom advice from Venerable Geshe-la's heart, held in these 2 precious books. So I'm going to say a little bit about Kadampas, Kadam Lamrim, and the preciousness of Kadam Lamrim. Ka refers to Buddha's teachings, and Dam refers to Atisha's instructions on Lamrim, the stages of the path to enlightenment. Kadam therefore refers to the union of Buddha's teachings and Atisha's instructions, stages of the path to enlightenment. And sincere practitioners of Kadam Lamrim are called Kadampas. How wonderful that these holy words, Kadam, Kadampa, are now being heard throughout our modern world. There are 2 Kadampa traditions, the ancient and the new. Practitioners of the ancient Kadampa tradition appeared to emphasize the practice of Kadam Lamrim of Sutra more than the practice of Tantra. Later, Je Tsongkhapa and his disciples emphasized the practice of Kadam Lamrim of both Sutra and Tantra equally. This new tradition, founded by Je Tsongkhapa, is called the New Kadampa tradition. So Atisha founded the old Kadampa tradition, Je Tsongkhapa founded the New Kadampa tradition. And in our modern world, the most extraordinary development has arisen, because a new presentation of these teachings, of Buddha's teachings, Atisha's teachings, Je Tsongkhapa's teachings, is appearing for the people of the modern world, called modern Kadampa Buddhism. It is the new Kadampa tradition of the modern world. This new presentation is coming as oral instruction from our Guru's heart, from Venerable Geshe-la's heart, is pouring a special presentation of Buddha's teachings according to Atisha, Je Tsongkhapa, but in a presentation that is acceptable, suitable for us, the people of the modern world. So this is such unbelievable good fortune for us and for all the people of the modern world, because this presentation is so clear, it's easy to understand and to practice. When we hear these instructions, we receive a blessing that makes us think, I can do this. I would like to try to do this. I am going to try to do this. Coming through these blessed instructions. So this is our tradition. It is the new Kadampa tradition of the modern world. Modern Kadam Dharma, Kadam Lamrim for the modern world. And this presentation of Kadam Lamrim is so precious, so valuable. It's what everybody is looking for. We need to find a special method in these impure times, in this impure world? How, in the context of this impure world, can we find a happy, meaningful life? Can we solve our problems? How can we help others be happy? How can we help them solve their problems? We need a special method. This special method is Kadam Lamrim. It will help us transform our views into correct views, our intentions into correct intentions, our actions into correct actions that lead to happiness and freedom from suffering for ourselves and others. One of the reasons I wanted to share this section is because it deeply touches my heart, and I love thinking about the preciousness of Kadam Lamrim and wishing for everybody everywhere to have the method that's appearing for us. So, Venerable Geshe-la says in the section, The Preciousness of Kadam Lamrim. The Kadam Lamrim instructions, the union of Buddha's teachings and Atisha's special instructions, stages of the path, are presented in 3 stages. The instructions on the stages of the path of a person of initial scope, the instructions on the stages of the path of a person of middling scope, and the instructions on the stages of the path of a person of great scope. All these teachings are part of Kadam Lamrim. It is the main body of Buddha's teachings. There is not a single teaching of Buddha that is not included in Kadam Lamrim. Kadam Lamrim is the condensation of all Buddha's teachings. It is very practical and suitable for everyone. And Venerable Geshe-la has told us, Lamrim is my life. Lamrim is my main practice, our main practice. It is the most important practice. Everything is included in the great ocean of Lamrim. All of Buddha's instructions are like rivers, and they gather together in the great ocean of Kadam Lamrim. So when we practice Kadam Lamrim, we are practicing all of Buddha's 84,000 instructions. We are making Buddha's instructions practical and integrating them with our busy daily life so we can transform our life into the liberating path, the spiritual path. How kind Kadam Lamrim is for us. Everyone, both Buddhist and non-Buddhist, needs permanent liberation from suffering and pure and everlasting happiness. Actually, these are our basic wishes. We might not express them this way, but if someone were to say to us, would you like no suffering ever, forever? We'd say yes. Would you like pure and everlasting happiness? To experience this all the time? We'd say yes. So everyone, whether Buddhist or non-Buddhist, needs permanent liberation from suffering and pure and everlasting happiness. This wish will be fulfilled through Lamrim practice. Therefore, Lamrim practice is the real wish-fulfilling jewel. We have this wish-fulfilling jewel. So you can imagine Venerable Geshe-la appears in front of you, and he's holding a crystal. And he says to you, this is a real wish-fulfilling jewel. Would we not treasure that crystal, hold it in our heart, and think, this is a real wish-fulfilling jewel? And we'd use it all the time. We'd hold it, we'd use it, we would make wishes. Holding this wish-fulfilling jewel, we would make wishes all the time. So this is exactly what has happened for us. Venerable Geshe-la has appeared in our life, clarifying for us all of Buddha's teachings, giving us the greatest gift, Kadam Lam Rim, as our real wish-fulfilling jewel. So therefore we need to rely upon the instructions of Kadam Lam Rim. We need to use them. We think, these instructions are my real wish-fulfilling jewel. I need them. I love them. I love to practice them. I cherish these instructions because they are my real wish-fulfilling jewel. Not just for me, but for everybody, everywhere. The wish-fulfilling jewel of Kadam Lam Rim, the practice of Kadam Lam Rim, will fulfill the wishes of each and every living being. Liberate them from sorrow permanently and give them the pure and everlasting happiness they long for. So we need to use our wish-fulfilling jewel. We need to engage in Lam Rim practice. In general, all Buddha's teachings, the Dharma, are very precious, as I've explained. But Kadam Dharma or Lam Rim is a very special Buddha Dharma that is suitable for everyone without exception. It's suitable for everyone. Like a mala, prayer beads made of gold. Even someone who's not interested in using prayer beads would accept a mala made of gold because it's so valuable. So in the same way, everyone, even non-Buddhists, can receive benefit from Kadam Dharma. So this I know in my own experience. The members of my family receive so much benefit from Kadam Lam Rim. Just small instructions that they've received, both from Venerable Geshe-la and from Venerable Geshe-la's teachings through me. And if I had longer, I'd love to explain to you, but I think you have so many examples in your own life. So Kadam Lam Rim is like this golden mala. Everyone can receive benefit. It's so valuable. It's so valuable. Such extraordinary inner wealth. This is because there is no difference between Kadam Dharma and people's everyday experiences. There's no difference between Kadam Dharma and people's everyday experiences. Even without studying or listening to Dharma, some people come to similar conclusions as those explained in Kadam Dharma teachings. Through looking at newspapers, TV, and understanding the world situation. So I would say a good example is right now. A good example is right now. Everyone is understanding the world situation. Through listening to the news, there's so much news. Everyone's listening. And some people hear from that news. They really understand the world situation. That there is no real happiness in this impure world. it seems to be one sad thing after another. You know, no one expected this unusual situation that we're seeing at the moment. But before it developed, our world situation was still uncertain, with so much conflict, natural disasters, famine, poverty, fighting. It seems that the news every day coming about our world is telling us we're abiding in an impure world. Its nature is suffering. And until we remove the causes of suffering from our minds, the world in which we live will be pervaded by suffering. So some people understand this world situation. Also, they understand many truths from just living their life. For example, the suffering of old age, the suffering of birth, the sufferings of death. People understand. It's just normally we're so busy and afraid that we don't want to think about these things. The interesting thing that's happening at the moment, it's a very interesting development in our impure world, because there is the pandemic. Millions of people are sick. Many are dying suddenly. And together with that frightening development, people are being asked to stay at home. So they don't have access to all their normal worldly enjoyments and are coming face to face with the questions in their own mind. Understanding the suffering in this impure world. How can I be happy? How can others be happy? How can we become free from this suffering? How can there be world peace? How can there be a world without suffering? How can I best live my life? What is its real meaning? How can I really benefit others? And when my life is drawing to a close, for example, if I become sick, what will help me then? So I would say these questions, which normally we have so many distractions distract us away from these questions, but they're important questions and they need to be answered. And at times like these, when everyone is trapped in their own home, and while it is quite clear that our world is not a safe place, it is uncertain, it carries so much danger and misery, these questions become very loud. So for people who are sincerely asking, I truly believe that through Venerable Geshe-la's skill and kindness, and for example developments such as these extraordinary e-books coming freely from his heart, his gift of wisdom to the world, people will find correct answers to these questions. So through looking at the newspapers or television, people understand the world situation. This is because Kadampa accords with people's daily experience. it cannot be separated from daily life. So its purpose is to transform daily life, to see what's arising and let it teach us Kadam Lamrim. This is so extraordinary that we have this opportunity. Everyone needs Kadam Dharma to make their lives happy and meaningful. So without this special method, it's impossible to find a happy, meaningful life in this impure world. Everyone needs it to solve temporarily their human problems and to enable them ultimately to find pure and everlasting happiness through controlling their anger, their attachment, jealousy, and especially their ignorance. So on this NKT day, I think it's so wonderful that we can reflect on the precious method that we found, Kadam Lamrim, appearing in our heart through Venerable Geshe-la's great kindness. This precious method will solve all our problems and bring us pure and everlasting happiness and help others do the same. So we live in spiritually degenerate times that are characterized by impurity. Our environment is impure, the water, air and food are becoming increasingly impure because of pollution. Our body is becoming increasingly impure because sickness and disease are now more prevalent. You know, there will never come a time in this impure world where sickness has ceased. New sicknesses simply appear, as we are witnessing at the moment. Our mind is becoming increasingly impure because our delusions are getting stronger and stronger. And our actions are becoming increasingly impure because we have no control over our delusions. So because of these 5 impurities, suffering, problems and dangers are increasing everywhere. However, so that's my favorite word. So sufferings, dangers, impurities are increasing everywhere. However, so this is our opportunity. However, through Lamrim practice, we can transform our experience of all these impurities into the spiritual path that leads us to the pure and everlasting happiness of liberation and enlightenment. We can use all the difficulties we see in the world as spiritual teachings. So this is the kindness of Kadam Lamrim, that we're going to be able to use difficulty. We're going to be able to use suffering and difficulty to produce the inner protection of spiritual experience. We're going to be able to use everything that we see to teach us Kadam Lamrim. So here, Venerable Geshe-la says, we can use all the difficulties we see in the world as spiritual teachings. Only someone who has met the precious wish-fulfilling jewel of Kadam Lamrim has this opportunity. We can use all the difficulties we see in the world as spiritual teachings. Everything we see with wisdom will teach us something. Everything will confirm the truth of Buddha's teachings. Everything that appears can be Dharma for us. Everything can be aspects of Lamrim. This is one of the many preeminent qualities of Kadam Lamrim. And putting this teaching into practice makes us a real Kadampa. So I can't resist it. I'll say the sentence again. Because we must become someone who isn't afraid of the difficulties in this world. They're determined to use them, to become someone who has the power to make oneself and others happy through wisdom and compassion, coming from our Lamrim practice. We need to become someone who understands the truth of suffering and courageously accepts that truth so that we can transform the suffering we see in our own and others' lives and in our world into causes of Lamrim realizations in our heart. This is the most extraordinary practice. It's like a miracle, because what we're being taught is that difficulty, suffering, can be useful. It can be so meaningful. So here, Geshe is saying, use all the difficulties we see in the world. Don't worry about them. Don't be afraid of them. Use them. Use the difficulties we see as spiritual teachings. So this depends on our intention, on our wisdom. We want to see everything as a spiritual lesson. What Lamrim is this teaching me? How does this affirm the truth of Buddha's teachings? Everywhere we look, we receive Lamrim teachings. Everywhere we look, everything that appears becomes a Dharma lesson and teaches us Lamrim. Everyone we meet, everything that appears. So we use all the difficulties that we see in the world as spiritual teachings that encourage us. Isn't that interesting? Instead of being discouraged, despondent, depressed, instead of being discouraged, despondent, depressed, downhearted, the sufferings, the difficulties, all the difficulties we see in the world, we use as spiritual teachings that encourage us to develop renunciation, the wish to liberate ourselves from the cycle of impure life. Leave the ocean of suffering. Leave this impure world. Stop perceiving it. Compassion, the wish that others may be liberated permanently from the cycle of impure life. And wisdom that realizes that these impurities are the results of our non-virtuous actions. So I'm going to explain this in a little more detail with some examples, but I just wanted to read straight from this precious advice from Geshe-la's heart and encourage all of us to take these special lines into our heart so we can contemplate them. In this way, through Lamrim practice, so this phrase appears again and again, through Lamrim practice. through Lamrim practice. So Lamrim practice is the real wish-fulfilling jewel. Not Lamrim. Lamrim practice. Lamrim practice. So we need the inner protection of spiritual experience coming from Lamrim practice, putting the teachings, this special knowledge, spiritual understanding into practice. In this way, through Lamrim practice, we can transform all adverse conditions into opportunities for developing realizations of the spiritual path that will bring us pure and everlasting happiness. So we're going to transform through Lamrim practice. This means using our wisdom, the wisdom of Lamrim. If we use the wisdom of Lamrim, we can transform all adverse conditions into opportunities to develop spiritual experience, spiritual realizations that will bring us pure and everlasting happiness. So one of the first teachings I received, and it changed my life and helped me find and follow the correct direction, is that we can make our suffering meaningful. I couldn't believe that such a precious method existed in our world where we could turn difficulty and suffering through having Lamrim wisdom into improving ourselves as a person, becoming a better person with more patience, love, compassion, wisdom, faith. All these good qualities grow in our heart if through Lamrim practice, through the wisdom of Lamrim, we learn how to use the difficulties and sufferings appearing in our life. The Venerable Geshe has said, everyone experiences difficulties in their life. Where are these difficulties, sufferings coming from? They're coming from delusions, mental bad habits in our heart, especially selfish intention coming from self-grasping ignorance. Only Dharma, and here we can mean the Dharma of Kadam Lamrim, only Dharma is the method to control delusions. How important Buddha Dharma is for the people of our modern world. So if we gain some experience of transforming adverse conditions into opportunities for developing realizations, we'll be happy when things are going well and happy when things are going badly. We'll be happy all the time. We'll become an example in this world that it is possible to find a happy, meaningful life and become free from suffering and experience pure and everlasting happiness through the kindness of Lamrim practice. We will show the value of Kadam Lamrim through our being a happy person, a loving, compassionate, patient person. And we will inspire others to develop faith in their spiritual development. So then, I'd like to share with you some examples. So with respect to our impure world, we can see how unpredictable this world is. Who would have thought a couple of months ago, as we were all merrily going about our normal daily life, that within a matter of a few short weeks, most people would not be at work, most children would not be at school, everything would be closed except for essential services, and the streets of our main cities would be deserted. Such a thing we could barely even comprehend, and yet now it's appearing. Because we live in an impure world, its very nature is to be unpredictable, uncertain, and give rise to suffering. And when we think about our world leaders, I mean, who would have their job? Their job is impossible. They take responsibility for running a country. They need wisdom, similar to an enlightened being's wisdom. But unfortunately, it's difficult to find such leaders these days. So if we check the real nature of human life these days, its nature is suffering. So as I said, a lot of questions come in our mind. Seeing the real nature of human life, we want to know, how is it possible to be happy, free from suffering? How is it possible to make others happy, help them be free from suffering? How is it possible to find a meaningful life? So we now know that we seek happiness in a different way. We seek happiness from a peaceful mind coming from the practice of Kadam Lamrim. So pure happiness, Venerable Geshe-la says, in How to Transform Your Life, because Geshe-la is encouraging us in his message to use our wisdom, you may wish to remind yourself or look up this section. Pure happiness comes from wisdom, which in turn comes from practicing spiritual teachings known as Dharma. Each and every spiritual practice presented in this book and all our Kadampa books gives us the ability to develop and maintain peace of mind. This inner peace is pure happiness because it comes from wisdom, not from worldly enjoyments. So this understanding is so wonderful. Pure happiness comes from wisdom, which comes from practicing spiritual teachings, because spiritual teachings, when we put them into practice, give us peace of mind. This inner peace is pure happiness. It comes from wisdom, not from worldly enjoyments. So wisdom is a deep knowledge that understands meaningful objects. All the objects of meditation, Lamrim, objects of meditation, appear in our Kadampa Dharma books. So all the objects of meditation and contemplation in this book and our Kadampa Dharma books are meaningful objects, because the knowledge that understands these objects gives us great meaning in this life and in our countless future lives. So we are understanding that through special ways of thinking, we try to hold meaningful objects with our mind. Objects that are lamrim objects, lamrim ways of thinking that make our mind peaceful, and then we experience pure happiness. Okay, so I said I was going to give some examples. So at the moment, samsara is showing its very ugly face. Sometimes it a little bit turns its ugly face, and we forget that the nature of impure life, the nature of our impure world, is suffering. So at the moment, because we see this unusual situation, we can see samsara's ugly face. And instead of continuing to search for happiness where it cannot be found in incorrect objects, we turn, as I've mentioned, to seek happiness in practicing Kadam Lamrim, Buddha's teachings. So when we think about this unusual situation, for example, the pandemic that we see at the moment, with respect to this situation, we need Dharma. So we have no power to eliminate or pacify this situation, these things, at the moment. But we do have the ability to use this difficulty we see in the world to improve ourselves so that we can be of real benefit to others. Because we've met Kadam Lamrim that teaches us how to transform difficulty into spiritual development. So normally, we think, for example, global travel, going on skiing holidays, going on holidays to various wonderful locations, is a source of real happiness. Actually, all the travel in the world has caused a virus to appear all over the world. And this situation that we're seeing at the moment even is coming from people having travelled on holiday. It shows that all the normal things we do in the name of happiness, actually they're deceptive. Samsara's enjoyments, worldly pleasures, are deceptive. They will never bring us the happiness we seek. Also, modern technology, everything appears to be improving. We can travel across the world so swiftly, and that seems like an improvement. But it also brings, as we're witnessing now, great danger. So we can learn, as I said, from modern Buddhism. We can learn from this how Dharma is the truth. We are seeing the real nature of our impure world, that it's deceiving us, causing dangers. We learn from this how Dharma is the truth. So these kinds of difficulties teach us what is the real truth. If we check, nothing except Dharma. Dharma will not deceive us. We can trust Kadam Lamrim. It will guide us in the correct direction, away from the causes of suffering and to the causes of happiness. In this impure world, we listen. We listen a lot to world leaders. We listen a lot to the news. But we don't know what's true. Even the world leaders don't know what to say. 1 minute we're being told wear masks, we don't need to wear masks. The instructions are so confusing and conflicting because actually no one really knows what to do. Therefore, we place our trust in the Dharma of Kadam Lamrim, its source, living Buddha, and the practitioners putting these blessed instructions into practice. So we learn from samsara showing its ugly face. Actually, this is a good thing, because instead of being deceived, we can see clearly and learn how Dharma is the truth. So the development of worldly enjoyments is deceptive. We need these, we don't abandon these, but we don't expect them to bring us the happiness and freedom from suffering we long for. So Dharma says, be peaceful. Be peaceful. This is like such extraordinary advice. Like Geshe-la said in his message, don't worry. Be peaceful. Keep Dharma in our heart. Be peaceful. That peaceful mind will make you happy whatever happens. You know, it's possible with the wisdom of Kadam Lamrim to be happy whatever happens. You know, at the moment, perhaps we feel, many people feel, like a puppet on a string. If things are going well, that puppet is dancing around. When things are going badly, well, I'm not quite sure, the puppet collapses. We can develop a happiness that is independent of external conditions, that is coming from the peace of our Lamrim practice, of holding objects of Lamrim with our mindfulness all day, all night, and we become a peaceful person. Be peaceful, be peaceful. Seek happiness from the inside, not from the outside. Solve your problems. Pacify your anger problem, attachment problem, your ignorance problem through Kadam Lamrim. So we learn how Dharma is the truth. So it's not possible for us to solve the pandemic immediately, because this is society's problem. But we can use the difficulty we see in the world to develop renunciation, wishing to abandon the cycle of impure life, life controlled by delusions, and compassion and wisdom, as I'm about to briefly explain. So not just in the whole world, but in our own lives, we can see the nature of impure life is suffering. I can use an example from my own family. When my sister became very ill with cancer, and Venerable Geshe-la kindly sent her some advice that was passed on to her through me. This is the advice that Geshe-la shared to help her. And of course it did. Sickness, aging, death. No one is an exception. It is completely common, from the highest king or queen to the lowest beggar. There is no choice. The only difference is time. You can encourage her to maintain always a positive mind, not blaming, not full of regret, no disappointment, no discouragement, just accepting happily, because it's completely common. This is the nature of the life that we've taken, impure life, life controlled by delusions. If not happy and become discouraged, then you have the physical sickness and mentally also the problem of discouragement. Please help her with this simple explanation. Everyone has this. There are no exceptions. The only difference is time. Then in reality, she will not get discouraged, depressed. She will accept happily as purification for her mind. I believe in this kind of situation, this advice, I believe, will be beneficial. I wanted to share that with you because sickness comes without choice. And we need to understand, actually, this is showing us the real nature of impure life. Let's cease impure life through the kindness of the wisdom of Kadam Lamrim, through our Lamrim practice. Let's transform the sufferings we see in our own life and others' lives into the inner protection of spiritual experience, Lamrim in our heart. After receiving this advice, my sister actually said, because according to normal appearance, she wasn't a spiritual person or a Kadampa, a Buddhist, just a good person. And she said, many people are asking why this is happening to me. And she said, I think, why not me? Why not me? So we develop renunciation. Also, our suffering helps us because it makes us feel vulnerable. Normally, we're so proud, we think we're in control of our life. How arrogant, how wrong could we possibly be? No one except realized beings are in control of their life because we're not in control of our mind, and our life is being created from the mind's side. The mind is the creator of all. For as long as our minds remain deluded, impure life is what we'll experience, and it's the nature of suffering. So Venerable Geshe-la says in How to Solve Our Human Problems, recognizing our vulnerability through suffering appearing decreases our pride. So this is very important. With pride, it's difficult to rely on Kadam Lamrim and our spiritual guide. With pride, it's difficult to love others. Pride is such an obstacle to our faith, which is the whole of our Lamrim practice, and to loving others, respecting others, which is the whole of the Mahayana path. So our suffering helps us. It literally brings us to our knees or our meditation cushion, and we start to pray from the depths of our heart because we want help, we want support, we want to change this difficult situation. So also, as I've just explained, we understand how our present suffering is merely a symptom. It's a symptom of our being in samsara. This helps us develop renunciation, a wish to abandon samsara, abandon the cycle of impure life, life controlled by delusions. Also, we can use our pain to feel, to understand, to empathize with the pain of others. And in modern Buddhism, again in the preciousness of Kadam Lamrim, Geshe-la says, Whenever Lamrim practitioners experience difficulties and suffering, they think, countless other living beings experience greater suffering and difficulties than I do. How wonderful. If we move our mind away from ourselves, we let our own suffering remind us of the much greater suffering of others. In this way, our suffering becomes a cause for developing or increasing our compassion for all living beings. Also, we can use our suffering for improving our wisdom, particularly understanding the way things really are. Why are difficulties appearing in our world? Due to karma, they're appearing. They're mere appearance. Mere appearance. So as Geshe-la says, we transform the difficulties we see in the world into wisdom inside our heart that understands we need to purify our negative karma. We need to purify our mind. When our mind becomes completely pure, we will abide in a pure world with pure beings, with pure enjoyments and pure activities. So all of this brief explanation is a teaching on the most extraordinary practice called bringing daily appearance into the spiritual path. We need to learn how to discriminate everyone and everything we see or remember as an aspect of Lamrim, so that everything appears to us as a teaching. So you may remember that Milarepa, he said, I don't need to read books. We do until our Lamrim wisdom is strong in our heart. Everything that appears to my mind is a Dharma book. All things confirm the truth of Buddha's teachings and increase my spiritual experience. So his inner protection of spiritual experience grew moment by moment through all things confirming the truth of Buddha's teachings. So we can become just like this through discriminating correctly. All living beings are my spiritual teachers. All situations are Dharma lessons. If we hold this special recognition with mindfulness, we will no longer have any obstacles because all our daily experiences will become meaningful and will serve to increase our good qualities. So if we practice in this way, always remaining mindful, what Lamrim is this appearance teaching me? What lesson, Lamrim lesson, is this appearance teaching me? Our everyday experiences will enhance our meditations, and our meditations will guide our daily lives. If we mix our entire life with Dharma in this way, we will quickly gain realizations. So a couple of things I'd like to finish with is that if we find ourselves negative, worrying, what do? We can go somewhere quiet and open a Lamrim book and begin to read in the presence of our teacher. And blessings will come, and that worried mind that upset, unhappy mind will disappear. Because with devotion, results arise immediately. We'll receive our Guru's blessings immediately. Or we meditate on any Lamrim object from any of our Kadampa books. And we pray. So faith and anxiety work in opposite directions. We need to turn our mind to the holy, to living Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And we pray from the depths of our heart. May all suffering in the world quickly cease. May all happiness and joy be fulfilled. And to enable this to happen, may the holy Dharma of Kadam Lamrim flourish everywhere, without exception, so everyone has the great good fortune that we have. So our job is to pray. Praying is non-deceptive. Often when we try to help physically, even verbally, the results may be beneficial, maybe not. But when we pray, good results will definitely come. Our faith works, our prayers work. So as Kadampas, we pray that suffering may cease in our world. So I'd like to share the words Geshe-la gave us for when tragedy occurs in our world, because they apply now as they did many years ago. We pray that the people who die will find good rebirth, and we pray that the world leaders gain wisdom. For those who are suffering, we pray that they are swiftly released from their suffering and receive blessings from the three precious jewels. It is very clear that without compassion and wisdom, there is no possibility to be released from this kind of difficulty, tragedy, like we're witnessing now. We should learn from this how Dharma is the truth. So I'm hoping that you've heard something beneficial that you can take into your heart and put into practice, because now is the time for us to become real Kadampas. Now is the time for us to use Venerable Geshe-la's precious message and his instructions from our Kadampa Dharma books to show that we're not worried. We have courage. We understand the world's situation, and we understand the solution. We're following the liberating path. While we're following the liberating path, we can be of real benefit to others, eventually by attaining enlightenment, the inner light of wisdom that is permanently free from all mistaken appearance. We can effortlessly benefit each and every living being every day, following our precious Guru's example. So Geshe-la said, "The reason why I have dedicated my life to benefit the people of this modern world by spreading Kadam Dharma is because I understand through my own experience that Kadam Dharma is the supreme protection from suffering. It is the real method to solve human problems, so I have dedicated my life to this purpose. Thank you for helping me." So we know our Guru has told us, and we understand. He said, "I am always with you. I am always helping you, working with you. I never forget you." So the same is true of the new Kadampa tradition. The new Kadampa tradition is Venerable Geshe-la's heart. So this is an amazing development that even in this time of lockdown, where we can't physically meet and be at our Dharma centres and with our Sangha as normal, through Venerable Geshe-la's vision, we're still able to improve ourselves, benefit others, and meet in many extraordinary ways as we're doing now. So I'd like to encourage you, with your own Dharma centre and your own teacher, stay connected. This is how to be protected. So we stay connected. Join all the online live streaming and recorded teachings. Really join in the pujas, because something very extraordinary is happening. We now have an opportunity to reach even more people through the situation that we're witnessing now. To help people, we've gone online. NKT's gone online and is streaming teachings and prayers all over the world. Thousands and thousands of people will meet Kadam Dharma through these special methods. So how wonderful we can all join in. So soon, 7 weeks away, is International Spring Festival with Genla Kenrab. How wonderful we will all, no matter where we live, because it's becoming so easy for us to join in and receive this precious Vajrapani empowerment and teachings. So we're about now to engage in the most precious prayer for us. Request to the Holy Spiritual Guide, Venerable Geshe Khalsang Gyatso, from his disciples. If we really wish to quickly become someone who's able to benefit others, like our Guru does, we pray in this prayer. We thank Geshe-la for giving everyone, everywhere, the precious opportunity to accomplish their own purpose and the purpose of others. And then we make a heartfelt request. Please come. Remain at my heart forever, so that all directions can be pervaded by your matchless, excellent deeds. So we can fill the world. We can fill the world with actual, real Kadampas. It's happening already through the presence of our Guru, our founder, at our heart. And we can give to everyone the opportunity that we have to find a happy, meaningful life, a life that is the joyful path, the liberating path, through the kindness of Kadam Lamrim practice. So we're going to join together, engaging in this precious prayer and reciting our Guru's name mantra together. From the depths of my heart, I thank you for joining in on this NKT day. I thank you for all your dedication to your Lamrim practice and to improving yourself so that you can become powerful in effortlessly benefiting others. And in particular, we understand where all these wonderful opportunities are coming from. And we say thank you through our dedication. Thank you.
spiritual guide, supreme friend and liberator, whose nature is lost and dragged back, synthesis of all three lineages. O sublime lamp illuminating the entire universe, I request you, please bestow upon me the state of the union of Heroka, so that I will be able to benefit all living beings. You who arose from the compassion of all Buddhas to reveal to migrators like us who have little fortune the path to liberation of the fortunate ones. Oh, what great good fortune to have met your precious Dharma of the oral instructions. I request you, please bestow upon me the state of the union of Heroka, so that I will be able to benefit all living beings. In these impure times you manifest as the spiritual guide, endowed with the excellence of learning and purity. O supreme ocean of infinite good fortune, I request you, please bestow upon me the state of the union of Heroka, so that I will be able to benefit all living beings. The doctrine of Buddha, and especially the doctrine of protectum and Drusri's oral lineage, exists through the kindness of the previous holy gurus. Now you reveal this excellent, profound Dharma to fortunate modern Kadampa disciples. I request you, please bestow upon me the state of the union of Heroka, so that I will be able to benefit all living beings. In these degenerate times you cherish pure Buddha Dharma. You show us how to begin, make progress in, and complete our practice of Dharma, through which we will attain supreme permanent liberation and happiness, and yet due to the strength of our worldly concerns will be pervaded by a matchless excellence deep. Through the blessings of the Guru and three precious jewels, the sublime assistance of the Yidams and Dharma protectors, and our faithful heartfelt requests, may the precious doctrine of Buddha Dharma flourish forever, and may all living beings find ultimate happiness, especially through the force of the blessings of Guru Haruka, Father and Mother, and the virtuous deeds of the great Dharma protector, Dorje Shukden. May the doctrine of the Gandhi moral lineage pervade all directions, so that each and every living being will find the supreme happiness of enlightenment.
O Guru Vajradhara, Kalpabhadra Samudra Sri Bhadra, Kalsangyatso, excellent glory, Sawa Siddhi Hum, please bestow upon me all the attainments, especially the state of the union of Haruka. O Guru Vajradhara, Kalpabhadra Samudra Sri Bhadra, Kalsangyatso, excellent glory, Sawa Siddhi Hum, please bestow upon me all the attainments, especially the state of the union of Haruka. O Guru Vajradhara, Kalpabhadra Samudra Sri Bhadra, Kalsangyatso, excellent glory, Sawa Siddhi Hum, please bestow upon me all the attainments, especially the state of the union of Haruka. Om Ma Guru Vajradhara, Kalpabhadra Samudra Sri Bhadra, Sawa Siddhi Hum Hum. Om Ma Guru Vajradhara, Kalpabhadra Samudra Sri Bhadra, Sawa Siddhi Hum Hum.
Through the virtues I have collected, by practicing the stages of the path, may all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods, and quickly attain enlightenment, so that samsara is finally extinguished. O protector of the land of bliss, who bestow without effort the the immeasurable joy of immortality, the moment we think of your breathtaking body, beautified by the measure and minor marks. Peace and honor, reign of attainments, of long life and exalted wisdom. You who are skilled in the wisdom that unties the sealed knots of the profound meaning of the sutras and tantras, of the full deliverer of this fortunate eon, who possess an abundance of good qualities, like 1,000 petaled lotus, more peerless, great spiritual guides. May you live for a very long time. The holy Dharma, treasured of jewels that is difficult to find for millenniums, is born forth from the chariot of your excellent superior intention. O protector who destroy the samsaric miseries of us, numberless of disciples, great knowledge hero, risen from an ocean of wisdom, may you live for a very long time. Through the stream of nectar of your eloquent instructions, ripening well at the essence of our hearts, and bringing to maturity the bodily strength of the Mahayana paths. May we be able to fulfill the hopes of countless migrators. Through the force of the three secrets of the conquerors and the sons, the virtuous deeds of the powerful, both bound protectors, and the dependent arising of the faith and respect of myself and other disciples. May our prayers be accomplished according to our wishes. So that the tradition of Jesangapa, the king of the Dhamma, may flourish. May all obstacles be pacified, and may all favorable conditions abound. Through the two collections of myself and others, gathered throughout the three times, may the doctrine of conqueror laws and Rapa flourish forevermore. Sangapa, crown ornament of the scholars of the Lord of the Stars. You are Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Abba Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of martyrs. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all three truths, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainments. Sankappa, crown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows. You are Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of martyrs. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all three truths, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainments. Sankappa, crown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows. You are Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of martyrs. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all three truths, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request.